Latina about the sweetest place on earth. Currently, we're the home to California sea lions and harbor seals, and we are a facility that's dedicated to the field of marine mammal science and education. So really we focus on animal care and then educating our guests about these animals, our environment, and conservation. Actually, the oldest animal that we have here in our population, this coming 22nd of Wednesday, she is going to be turning 30 years old. So we're so excited to celebrate her. Can you 30 years old? From her. Now I actually want to start the show off with a quiz question for everyone in my audience. A lot of times people come to our shows and they're not sure if Satara is a seal or a sea lion. So by a show of hands, who thinks she's a seal? Alright, some of you. What about sea lion? Awesome, a good bit of you. Well, if you had your hand raised for sea lions, congratulations. You are all wrong. She is actually a harbor seal, but do not worry if you said sea lion. So many people do commonly confuse these species. So with Satara's help today, I am going to highlight 3 easy ways that we can tell apart all seals and then all sea lions. Satara, she was just showing off the first difference, which are in their front flippers. So if you look at Satara, her front flippers are really tiny. They're only about the size of our human hand. Whenever she swims through the water, she'll use those front flippers to help her steer, and then she gets all the power that she needs from her back flippers. She pushes them together, fans them out, and then moves them side to side in a motion called sculling. That allows a seal, just like Satara, to reach a burst speed of up to 20 miles per hour in the water. And she is doing awesome out there so far. Can we give her some encouragement? Very nice to meet Satara. Now, a sea lion, on the other hand, their front flippers are much larger than a seal's. They're closer to the size of our arms. They'll then use those to propel themselves through the water, and they can reach a burst speed of about 25 miles per hour whenever they swim. The second difference between a seal and a sea lion, it is actually pretty tiny, so you do have to look closely, and they're the ears on the side of Satara's head. So if you look at Satara, a seal has internal ears. All you can really see is that small hole or lump that's about an inch behind her eye. A sea lion, though, has a little ear flap on the side of their head called an external pinnae. We like to say it looks a little bit like a Tootsie Roll. And then the final difference between all seals and all sea lions is how they move right up here on land. If you look at Satara, she spends her whole life on her belly. She kind of looks like a giant caterpillar anytime that she moves. Sea lions, though, they have an adaptation called rotating hip bone, and that allows them to remove their back flippers up underneath their bodies. And a sea lion can walk or run on land using all 4 of their flippers. Hopefully, with Satara's help, though, you will never confuse a seal or a sea lion again. She is doing awesome out there. Maybe that's a laugh for her. Now, I do want to tell you a little bit more about Satara. She is a very special lady. She's actually a little bit of a medical marvel. Satara is one of the only known seals who have gotten and survived West Nile virus back in 2020. Not a lot is known about West Nile virus in seals like Satara, other than that it does tend to be fatal most of the time. Now Satara, she is so fortunate though. She has an incredible animal care team, and she was able to work with some of the best marine mammal veterinarians from around the world, as well as even some human specialists like neurologists, to make sure that she got the very best care and continues to get the best care that she could possibly ever need. As you can see, she is just not only surviving in her environment, she is thriving. We are so happy again to be celebrating her 30th birthday coming up. She did awesome and can still hear you. Why don't you say one more time for Satara? Now our next animal, he is the largest animal that we have here in our current population. Now, shout out, is this a seal or a sea lion?
Sea lion!
Who said sea lion? I just told you the differences. No, that's okay. This is a Pacific harbor seal. So make sure to look for those differences. He is going to be, or excuse me, he actually already did turn 28 years old this past week. And he is weighing in right around Can you put your hands together for Scooter? Very nicely done, Scooter. Great big seal hello from him as well. Now, out of all the training we do here at the Aqua Theater, one of the most important forms of our training is called husbandry care, and that's really all the different medical behaviors that we can train our animals. So presenting their eyes, their ears, their flippers, bellies, really even the very tips of their tails is part of every animal's daily routine. And then by training these different husbandry behaviors, we can make sure that any medical work, if it is ever necessary, it can be restraint-free and really comfortable for both the animal as well as the trainer. A few examples of these behaviors that our animals know. Scooter knows how to open his mouth up nice and wide. We do brush his teeth on a regular basis. And you can see just how calm and confident he was with that. Put your hands together for him. He did awesome.
Yes! Did you see he brushes?
We can also have these animals lay out for x-rays and for ultrasounds. And we can even get a voluntary blood sample from their own flippers. All of this husbandry care, it goes a really long way in extending the lifespan of our animals. In the wild, harbor seals like Scooter will live to be about 20 years old or so if they're lucky. However, under human care, they can live into their late 30s and even into their 40s. Scooter is doing awesome out there. Put your hands together for him. And we use a method of training called bridge and target training. So our bridge that we use is the clicker that's worn around our trainer's left wrist. If you listen closely, you're probably going to notice some of those clicks. And that click, it really just tells Scooter that in that exact moment, he's done a really nice job, and then some form of reinforcement is going to be coming very soon. So for example, if we wanted to ask an animal to jump up and touch that ball, it would be very hard for us to throw a fish right at that exact moment that their nose touched it. So instead, we can click that clicker to let the animal know that they did awesome, and then they come back to us to get a reward. And Scooter is doing great out there. Put your hands together for him. The second part of our training that is targeting, and to target really just means to touch. We teach our animals how to touch the tip of their nose to a target pole or to a trainer's closed hand, and then using those targets, we're able to shape and guide our animals' behavior. We go in really small steps whenever we work with our animals, and then eventually we can leave those targets away, and we can communicate to animals using hand signals and vocal cues. An animal like Scooter, who is 21 years old, he actually has cataracts in both of his eyes, making him almost completely blind. So instead of asking him for those hand signals, instead we can touch an area of his body, for example his whiskers, to help guide him. And that way he's kind of like our seal remote. We can really communicate to him effectively. Very nicely done, Scooter. You have the right idea. Make a nice laugh for him. Now, one of the most important parts of our training process is using a lot of positive reinforcement. So anytime Scooter does something correct, he is absolutely going to get a great big reward for it. You've probably noticed that he is going to join a lot of fish. Fish is a primary form of reinforcement for both seals and for sea lions. We can also use secondary reinforcers whenever we work with our animals though, and that's really just anything that an individual animal might enjoy. That can be things like toys they like to play with, a back rub or a belly rub from a trusted trainer. Our animals really enjoy things like ice cubes, and then of course, the reason that we ask for so much of it, applause is also a great form of reinforcement. Scooter can still hear you. What do you say one more time for him? Nicely done, Scooter. Now, I do just want to point out, I'm sure you probably noticed, we do have some other animals hanging out in our environment. Part of our training is that we train our animals to take turns. We also change every single show that we do. That way, it's a great variety for our animals, but also for our guests. So if you are interested in meeting some of these other faces, I definitely encourage you to come back on a later date to meet some of those. But another important part of our training is adding variety. So we can those shows like I mentioned, but we can also change the trainer works with the animals. So you saw Danielle working with our first two stars. I'm actually going to pass the mic over to her